Well, hello, my friends. The first thing I need to do is apologize for being a bit quiet recently. I spent about a week with the flu, and so I've fallen a bit behind on my uploads on YouTube. I do intend to post the next installment on my story of how I ended up in retreat and become a monk. But that will have to wait until next week. But in the meantime, then there is something that I wanted to discuss. Because I noticed that a lot of people are unhappy these days. They feel that the world is unfair and they haven't got enough resources to get by. I mean, we all are looking for happiness, and also we want to be free of suffering. It's the same for me as it is for you and everybody else. In this regard, we are all in the same boat. But sadly, there are always those who are less fortunate than we are. But in general, where we go wrong is we focus on our own suffering and do not consider the suffering of others. I mean, basically, if you want to make yourself unhappy, then what you should do is resent others for their resources and their well-being. But this is so often exactly what we do. We don't like it when we see other people getting by and enjoying a relatively easy life. We resent them for it. But what you have to understand is, this will not cause them to suffer anymore. Your resentment and your jealousy will only harm your own mind. It just makes your own world more dark and unbearable. And it's the same if you focus on your own suffering, your own poverty. Really, what we need to do is the exact opposite of this. We need to learn to rejoice when others are experiencing well-being. And we need to learn to be grateful for what we have. And the truth is, what we have, especially here in the West, is quite extraordinary. And if this wasn't the case, then why the hell would everybody be trying to come here to share in our dream of prosperity? I know we're going through tough times, and the cost of living is making it difficult for us to get by. But we have to learn to appreciate what we have. Also, we need to learn to get things into perspective. Because compared to the rest of the world, compared to most people in the world, then even the poorest amongst us is relatively wealthy. I mean, it would be helpful for some of us to go and experience what it's like in the rest of the world. For example, what it's like to live in places like the Democratic Republic of Congo or Nepal or the high steppes of northern China. Because once you recognize what true poverty is like, then it's very unlikely that you're going to bemoan your own lot in life. You will learn to appreciate what you have. I mean, for example, I lived in a third world country, in Nepal, for 8 years. And when I hear Canadians complain about their healthcare system, to be honest, it makes me laugh. Because there, if you're a poor villager and you break your leg, then in hospital they might just cut it off rather than fix it. They don't have the resources we have. They don't have the same kind of social support and safety net for the poorest people in their communities. For example, these days in Canada, there's quite a few people who are living homeless. And they usually have a shopping trolley or some kind of cart that they need in order to transport all their possessions around with them. Now, having lived in Nepal and witnessing what it's like for people there who are poor and homeless, who don't even have shoes on their feet in winter, who go from day to day wondering when their next meal will come. And compared to them, the homeless people living here in British Columbia are relatively wealthy. And it's not only food and clothing. It's the basic necessities of life, the things that we take for granted. Medicine, healthcare, and education. Even the people I met in Nepal who have steady jobs are poor compared to the people who live in the streets here in Canada. And the majority of them are completely uneducated, illiterate. They can't even write their own name. The laborers, the people who carry stones and bricks, get about $3 or $4 a day in wage. They get a roof over their head, and they get one meal a day. And when I say they get a roof over their head, that's a little lean-to hut made out of corrugated iron with snakes living under their beds and a dirt floor. You wonder why on earth they would even do this job. But part of the reason why they work in these labor camps is so that they will not be a burden to their family. They don't have any social support or health care. I remember there was one carpenter working in our retreat center. Actually, he was from India. And one day when he was working, he got distracted by something outside and turned away from his machine. And he cut off all the fingers on his left hand. They don't have any insurance. He didn't get any compensation. That was it. His career was finished. And he could no longer support his family. But we don't get it. We take what we have for granted. We don't know how to be appreciative for the things we get in life. The things that enrich us and the opportunities we have. All we can do is resent others for their wealth and their well-being, and bemoan our own lot in life. But what's taught in the Buddha Dharma is that this way of thinking is the very source of our suffering. The source of all our unhappiness, all of our woe, is self-cherishing. Self-cherishing, self-concern, and not thinking about the well-being of others. The truth is, when you're thinking about others, working for the benefit of others, you don't have any time to be wrapped up in your own suffering. Sadly, especially these days, then the wealthy and the powerful use our selfish tendencies against us to pit us against each other, to polarize us, and by that, for themselves to gain more power and influence in the world. Because between words and feelings, then feelings are more powerful. And amongst all of the feelings and emotions, then negative feelings are more powerful than positive ones. So don't give over your autonomy to those who seek to control you, using your anger and your resentment against you. We are stronger when we pull together. And we are happier when we express our love and compassion for others, instead of focusing on our resentment. One thing you have to understand is, when seeing other people experience happiness makes you feel uncomfortable, that's called jealousy. And jealousy does nothing to make our world better. Jealousy and resentment only perpetuate our suffering. these negative emotions strip us of our autonomy, enslave us in a perpetual cycle of unhappiness and regret. Rather, rejoice in the well-being of others. Rejoice in their well-being and happiness, and have gratitude for what is given. And it doesn't matter whether you think it's given by God or it's some kind of cosmic lottery. If you start to recognize the resources that you have, what has been garnered through an accumulation of past virtue, once you start to appreciate the splendor and richness that life has to offer, then you can become truly joyful and content with everything that life has to offer. And so have compassion for those who are less fortunate. Rejoice in the fortunes of others. Develop appreciation and contentment, and be thankful every day for the opportunity to experience consciousness in all of its infinite variety and richness. Well, these are just a few of my thoughts that I wanted to share with you on this quiet winter's evening in Canada. And it is my sincere wish that you too should experience happiness and well-being, overcome the challenges of life, find the wealth and resources that you require to live happily and to practice the path. So until next time, and see you later.